Okay students, let's see how we use Excel to format our data table and subsequently plot a simple graph for your physics practical report. I have with me a set of data from a moving trolley. The first column is my independent variable. It stands for time. The second column is the distance traveled by the toy trolley based on the time taken. The third column is the second trial for the distance traveled based on the time taken. And then the fourth column is the distance average. So look at the header. We do not spell the entire word out. We use symbol. So T is the symbol for time, and for good practice we italicize the symbol. So I highlight T and I click Command I. I can also go to home and choose this letter I here. So I enter. The seconds, the unit, does not need to be italicized. Same thing here. I highlight D, click here, and for the 1 it needs to be subscripted. So I highlight 1, right click, I go to format cells and I choose subscript. Repeat the same thing. And finally for the fourth column. Okay, now this additional row here is the precision of the measuring instrument. I already inserted for you. The first column uses stopwatch, and that is determined, the precision is determined by the human reaction time, which has 1 decimal place, so it's 0.1 seconds. And this one uses meter rule, which has a precision of 1 millimeter. So to be uniform with the unit stated here, cm, it will be 0.1 centimeters. And the D average also uses the same precision, 0.1 centimeter. So why do we have this row? Basically, this row will tell us the subsequent values for the entire column will follow the same decimal place. So this is 1 decimal place, so all these numbers should be to 1 decimal place. So how I do it, I highlight the whole column, right click, go to format cells, under number I choose number, and I have this option for decimal place. I choose 1 decimal place. Same thing for the other 3 columns, also 1 decimal place. I highlight all 3 columns and I go to format cell and repeat the same thing. Right, and finally for D average, it is the sum of D1 and D2 and then divide by 2. So you can either use a calculator and calculate the results and type it in, or you can insert a formula. So how do we do it? We start by typing equal. So equal is an indication to Excel that you are inserting a formula. So I open a bracket, I click on the first cell and I plus, click on the second cell and I close the bracket and I divide by 2. Press enter and I have the value calculated for us to 1 decimal place. Now I need to repeat the formula for all the remaining cells below, so I can do it easily. Instead of typing everything one by one, I bring my cursor to the right bottom of the first cell, click and drag and lift up. So the formula is repeated for all the cells. So with that, I finish formatting my data table. Now let's see how we can plot a simple graph. So I highlight the values I need. So I need the time. The time is my horizontal axis, and then the D average is my vertical axis. So how do I do it? I highlight both columns, I click command and I drag. So 2 columns are highlighted. I go to insert, I choose a graph. I have a list of graph over here, I choose scatter. Click scatter and I choose the plain scatter without lines. So let's check that the values are correctly represented. Let me enlarge the graph. And this first value is 1 and 8. So this is 1 and 8. It's correct. T is my horizontal and D average is my vertical. So let's format this graph. A few things we need to do. First thing first, when we open this graph, we will see a little tab over here, add chart elements. Earlier versions of Excel does not have this tab, only the later ones. So if we don't have the tab, you can still find the different elements spread out across here. So let's see. First thing, we add the element. We have axis titles and grid lines and trend line. So let's add a trend line first. The trend, we expect the line to be a straight line, so we choose linear. Of course we can choose other types of trend line, but we choose linear. Click and we have the line. And notice that this line is dotted, so we want to bold it. We double click on the line, a dialog box pops up. We go to this fill and line icon, click on it and go to dash type, click and we choose solid line. So our line is solid. Next, as a personal preference, I prefer to have cross instead of dots as my marker. So I click on the dots and I choose marker, and marker options, built in, and I have a list of markers to choose from. I choose cross, and to have my crosses larger, I choose a bigger size. So I choose 8. So here we have it. Next, before we close the dialog box, I click on the line again. I need to insert something. I go to this statistic, trend line option, and I choose display equation. So this function, I check the box, it's very useful. My equation appears here. This will be required for your practical reports. Then I close. Now notice that this equation uses x and y, but our values uses d and t. So let's just amend this. So this is d average. Again, we have to go to font to make it a subscript. Okay, and then x, we go to t. So this equation is correct. Now the chart title, we can type graph of d average against t, and the d average ABE again needs to be subscripted. Now next thing, we need to insert grid lines. So we go back to this add elements. Under grid lines, we choose minor horizontal and then minor vertical. So there are grid lines here for easier reading of the graph. Then the next thing, we need to insert axis title. Primary horizontal. Horizontal is time. So we need to insert the symbol T as well as the unit S. Next, we insert the vertical axis title, which is D average and the unit. And again, we need to subscript the word average. So we can right click and choose font and select subscript. So with that, we finish plotting the graph. Thank you.